Hey Tooth Fairy, welcome to the show. I'm going to start just by sharing that I'm under the weather. I thought I had strep. It tested negative. I literally laid in bed for like at least a whole day, if not more. So if I sound low energy today, that is why. So please stay tuned, or maybe you'll appreciate my lower energy than normal. But today I'm going to be talking about essentially nitty gritty on how to balance your body so that you can be strong in all areas. Because, of course, I always talk about muscle imbalances and correcting those, and that's key. But there's another element to training, to working out, right? Our body's 360 degrees, we're 3D, right? So we need to train accordingly, right? And make sure that everything we're doing is, we're working the whole body because it's one unit and everything works together, right? These are things I say all the time. But so today, that is what I'm talking about. I'm going to give you 3 tips. So get ready because I'm going to dive in right now for you.
Hey there! Welcome to the Lift for Longevity podcast, where our goal is to build our strongest, healthiest body. We all deserve to feel our best, but since we only get one body, we have to make sure to protect it by moving safely and with purpose to prevent pain, injury, and surgery. I'm your host, Brianne, and I'm a fit pro turned business owner and also a girl mom. I'm obsessed with educating and empowering dental pros on how to take care of their body by training efficiently and building the right muscles to prolong their career. I know you're tired of spending time working out but still dealing with annoying aches and pains, getting rid of your pain temporarily only to have it come right back just a few hours later, or feeling like you never have any energy. You wish there was a long-term solution to get rid of your pain for good. Well, I'm here to give you real-life, actionable steps that you can take today to get rid of your pain, say goodbye to quick fixes, and have energy to live a life that you love. So if you're ready to get stronger, enjoy your life outside the operatory, and have longevity in your career, grab yourself a high-protein snack and let's get to it.
Okay, so last episode, I had briefly mentioned training in all 3 planes of movement. And that would be something that if I were to go back in time and start my fitness journey over, that's something that I would focus on because, for example, bodybuilders, they're always focusing on like what they see in the mirror, right? Quads, they're doing squats, bench press, chest press. And it's just not practical because that would be like me just brushing like the front teeth, right? Because that's all people see. Like how stupid is that? Which I'm sure nobody does that, but that's just my goofy analogy for today. So step number 1 is how to train to build a balanced body by training all 3 planes of motion is going to be the first plane of motion is this sagittal. Everybody trains in this. Nobody has neglected training in sagittal. It's basically if you were to like cut yourself in half, there's a left side and a right side, and it's when you're moving forward and back. So think lunges, bicep curls, right? These are things that all programs do, and they probably do too much of it. Not probably, they do. They do way too much of this, and they neglect other areas. And why that's a problem is think about when you get out of bed or get out of your car, right? Like these are movements, real life, everyday movements. Or like me, sometimes I pick up my dog food bag is so heavy and I pick it up and I have to, lean and pour it into my dog's container. There's just different things where we need to move, like I said, in a 3-dimensional plane, right? 360 degrees. So we have to make sure that we are training accordingly. So if we're only training in the sagittal plane, we are lacking a lot of major muscle groups, but B, if we don't train in all 3 planes of motion, that increases our risk for injury like exponentially. Okay, so that's the first element. The second plane of motion is going to be what's known as the frontal. So think like abduction and adduction. Basically, if you were like to cut yourself, down the middle, what is that? Horizontally. So there's like, anterior and posterior when you're moving side to side. So think like lateral raises, right? Think lateral banded walks or crab walks or whatever people call them. That would be an example of that. And, which makes sense, right? Because there are times, more so like think athletes, right? You need to like sprint to the side and, be more agile. But like, yeah, we're not sprinting to the side on a daily life basis, but this is the basis for like internal and external rotation, right? Which happens everywhere. Our hips, our pelvis, our shoulders, right? And think about at work, yes, you're not supposed to have your arm chicken wing, but like it happens. And so we just need to make sure that we're working the muscles to sustain those positions. For example, like with abduction, abduction, glute medians are very weak in hygienists all the time. So that's something that we need to stabilize the pelvis. So that's another muscle, or excuse me, a plane of motion that we really need to consider is that frontal plane. And then the third one is probably the one that's lacked the most, and it's what's known as a transverse plane, or like the rotational plane. Think like swinging a golf club, right? My boyfriend's a big golfer. I actually really like golf too, but so it would be like if you were to chop yourself in half, which is a little bit of a graphic image, if you will, but basically like top half and bottom half. And this is the one where everybody lacks this. I don't see programs with the transverse plane worked at all, like hardly ever. And that's a huge problem because again, it's going to lead to injury. And you want to build a balanced body. We want to work all the muscles. So this would include like, wood chops or cable chops, whatever you want to call them, high to low, low to high, curtsy lunges. Those are very advanced, and I do not give those to any beginners just because everybody does them wrong. They just don't have the muscle strength or stability to do them properly. But those are examples of that. As well as, I'm going to throw an anti-rotational. So while your muscles are more so, they're resisting rotation, so they're like isometrically contracted. So think like a bird dog. Most of you know what that is because you do yoga, but you're resisting rotation, or like a renegade row, like which are brutal, right? You're in that high plank position. You want to keep those hips squared up, that spine nice and neutral. Everything's facing the ground. As you're, lifting one arm up, you're resisting that rotation. So that's just kind of like a part B to the rotational field. But this is something that we really need to incorporate more so, because if we don't, we're only putting ourselves at risk for injury, but B, like our goal is to like fix muscle imbalances and build a balanced body. So, of course I always talk about, aligning the rib cage and the pelvis and making sure that we're starting from that solid foundation. But then if we just go and do a bunch of sagittal plane exercises, it's like, well, we did all that work for nothing, right? You're just constantly working the same muscles over and over. Or like a lot of people do that too when they're like, I don't know, cycling or even running, like you're constantly working in that same plane over and over and over and over. That's an issue, right? This is why a lot of runners, their quads become hyper developed, and then they like pull a hamstring, right? There's a lot of injuries that are, people are susceptible to because of that repetitive movements, right? So we want to mix it up with all three planes. Sagittal, yes. Frontal, yes. Transverse, yes. Like you need to work all three in order to build a balanced body, to have strength in all areas, right? Overall, because, at the end of the day, that's everybody's goal, right? That's how we're going to build our strong, resilient body. Just like, when you clean my teeth, you're cleaning every single surface, right? Every tooth. I'm flossing every tooth. Like I'm brushing every tooth, right? Like you're not just half-assing shit, right? And that's what's going on when you're literally neglecting or completely omitting certain planes of movement. So I'm hoping I'm not coming off too like ranty right now, but it's very important. It's like rule 101 when it comes to like building a balanced body, aside from correcting your imbalances, of course. But that is my tips for you today. Work all three planes of movement so that you can build a balanced body, strong overall in all areas, to have longevity not only in your career but in your life. So I know this is a little bit of a shorter episode, hopefully, and thanks for staying in there with me, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you so much for listening in today. I hope you got a takeaway from this episode, and if you did, would you be so kind to share it with another dental pro you think would benefit from it? I know you love learning, and chances are that they do too. Also, I would love to connect with you on Instagram, so go ahead and head over to the Lift for Longevity podcast page or follow me at Built by Brianne. If you shoot me a message saying hello, I will personally respond because I love chatting with dental pros. Before you go though, I want to let you know that I appreciate you and what you do, and I hope to chat soon. Until next time, stay strong.